You're listening to Got Tech, the podcast with your hosts, Eric Geis and Nick Johnson.
Welcome back to GotTech, the podcast. This is episode number 43 called Adding Virtual Professional Development into Your School's Culture. In this episode, Nick and I welcome two expert guests on the topic of virtual professional development. We go over several characteristics that you can find within good quality virtual professional developments, as well as provide you with a plethora of different virtual professional development ideas. Check it out.
So we're back here for episode 43. It's one that I'm extra excited for. Guys, how are you doing this morning?
I'm doing fantastic. We have two wonderful guests in the field of ed tech coaching that we have on the show today. I'm very excited about our topic. Our topic today is going to be all about virtual professional development and ways that we can incorporate that into our practice as tech coaches.
Yeah, it's been a long time since we've had a guest on the show. Summertime's always tough to kind of pin people down, but now we're back at school. We're making connections, and we're excited to bring some experiences from other amazing professionals to you guys today, all within this kind of framework of virtual PD, which is obviously a really exciting space and something that we're crazy interested in. So we've got Joe, and Joe, please correct me on your last name if I'm wrong, but Joe Valver, is that how we say that?
Hit the nail on the head there.
All right, and then Kara Flodman?
Floodman. I say Floodman. It's probably Floodman, but...
All right, Kara Floodman. Thank you guys for being on the show. I think we want to start off and just kind of let you introduce yourselves, talk to us a little bit about your current positions and what you do and how you got there and some of the stuff that you're interested in and passionate about. So maybe, Kara, if we could start with you.
Sure. Good morning, guys. Thanks for having us. We're really excited. This is like our first podcast experience, so we're noobs over here. I am currently an instructional technology facilitator in Hamilton Township, New Jersey. I started out as an 8th grade social studies teacher in New Jersey. I was there for about 10 years. I kind of got into tech when they showed up at my classroom door with a cart full of Chromebooks. And I figured I should probably learn how to use these in my classroom. And nobody really told me anything about it. So I started doing a lot of research on Twitter, and I kind of became the unofficial Google guru / tech integrator in my school. The admin asked me to do a lot of PD, and I just figured it was something that I kind of wanted to continue doing. So when this position opened, that's kind of how I got into the tech coaching position. So I started out as a social studies teacher and ended up in a technology department, which isn't a real typical traveling path for a teacher, but I love it here, and Joe and I always have a good time.
That's awesome. A couple things I heard you say there is you went to Twitter, so I'm guessing that you have a Twitter handle. Can you share that with us?
Miss Edutech is my Twitter handle.
All right, we will put that in the show notes. The other thing is we have something similar in the fact that a Chromebook cart came to your classroom. I was the one to pilot it at my school as well. And I guess that's when I kind of got turned on to tech more than what I was before. I was a science teacher, and then I started to use a lot of tech to enhance the classroom. So let's switch over to you, Joe. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Give us your Twitter handle, and we'll go from there.
Sure. My Twitter handle is not as creative as Kara's, unfortunately. No Mr. Edutech here. It's jvalver_HTSD.
All right, we will put that in the show notes, but I just want to add that I think that handle is still available if you want to switch over.
No, thank you.
Yes, I don't think my wife would approve.
I just meant the name. You're a mister, so it does work.
So a little different than kind of what you and Kara were talking about in that kind of the Chromebook carts came to your classrooms. I come from a tech background, and it's kind of unique in this ed tech coach field. Instead of getting that cart, I was the one pushing the cart into the room saying, here you go. Here's the new technology. So I have, prior to working in education, I worked for the Apple retail stores. I was a trainer and worked at the Genius Bar for 5 years. And that's where I got a lot of my passion for using technology with education. A lot of my customers were teachers and even students coming in to work on projects for school that utilized their Macs that they had purchased. And in fact, one of my customers kind of said, man, it would be great to have someone like you in our tech department to kind of help me throughout the day. And so I started looking into different tech positions, found myself in Lindenwold School District down in South Jersey doing just tech support. And through that, I was able to kind of take it, run with it, started doing PDs on Google after school and faculty meetings, teaching teachers how to use Google Sites with their students. I created a laptop manager program for students where they got to keep track of the carts, make sure everything was working properly, and they got to learn and spend time with me, learning about computers, taking them apart. And that really is kind of, I think, what bolstered me to this current position that Kara and I are in Hamilton, where we get to support 24 buildings of teachers and students with the use of technology in the classroom. So I think being in this position now for 3 years and Kara being in it for a year and a half, we've really seen a lot of different things and had a lot of neat opportunities within our position, especially the topic at hand today.
That's awesome. I like your story, Joe, because it is usually what you hear more, at least in my experience with Geis and myself even now, is like you start off as a teacher and then all of a sudden, like you said, Kara, you sort of become like, oh, I guess I'm the tech person now because I just happen to be the one that figured out these Chromebooks. That's kind of how it happened for me and Geis, but it's cool that you actually have that more technical background. So I think that might probably bring a lot to the table. Before we leave our little intro segment here, I just want to jump back to each of you for one extra thing. We were talking a little bit before the show, and Kara, you are involved in a really exciting program. I believe it's called the Google Innovator Program. So could you just let us know a little bit about general information about that process and how you got it and what you think this could mean for you?
I'm super excited to go to the Google Innovator Academy next week, actually. I'm part of the NYC 19 cohort, so you could search the hashtag on Twitter if you want to see what it's all about. Google Innovators have to be a level 1 and a level 2 certified educator. Basically what the program is, it's actually a year-long cohort that you become a member of, and you're able to attend an academy somewhere in the world. I think they have like one on each continent per year or something like that. And there's about 40 members that are picked for each cohort. So it's a really, really small competitive group of people. When you go to the academy, basically you're learning about design thinking, and you have to come up with a challenge that Google is going to help you see through over the next year. So once you become accepted, you are given a coach and a small team of like 6 people who you're kind of going to go through the academy with. And they're going to provide you feedback and support on whatever is your challenge. My challenge happens to focus around professional development. That's kind of one of the passions of mine. So I have a coach from North Jersey and some teammates from all over the world, which is really exciting. I'm not really sure what we're going to do at the academy, but each week they send us emails with new homework assignments to prepare us to go. And this week we're all sort of redefining and nailing down our challenges a little bit further. They call it a how might we statement. So you're looking at a challenge, in education, but can also be in the world that, somebody can help you solve. So they're taking you through this whole design thinking process to really just grow your challenge in some way and implement it over the next year with some assistance and mentorship of people that can kind of help you do something big. So I don't know what my big thing is going to be yet, but it's really exciting to kind of have that on the horizon of, the opportunities that are in front of you. So
that sounds really, really awesome. I'm kind of jealous.
So am I.
I think I might try to apply in a future year.
Definitely do.
But at the end of your journey, you get to share your final product. So maybe we'll have to have you back on once you're done to kind of go over what you came up with. We're very interested. You gave us a little cliffhanger there. So, Joe, let's switch over to you. And I know that I saw you at ISTE. I think both of you were at ISTE and you were presenting. Nick and I, we presented and we went through the application process and we were lucky enough to be selected, but you guys took another way to kind of get down there and be able to present. Can you go over that a little bit?
Sure. So just like you guys, we had a topic, we had an idea that we actually is the topic we're here to talk about today, that we presented at Texpo, which is kind of a smaller version of ISTE for the state of New Jersey. It's hosted in Atlantic City every year. And we presented our topic at Texpo about taking PD virtually. And we got a lot of good feedback from that presentation, as well as just from our own administration with what we actually did in the district, that we had, hey, let's try and share it on a bigger scale. So we applied and submitted our proposal for ISTE. Unfortunately, we didn't get accepted. But one of the nice things that ISTE offers is for those people that didn't get accepted, they give you the opportunity to submit your proposal for something called People's Choice. And what you basically do is you take that presentation that you wanted to do at ISTE, whichever format it might be, and you get to post it, and viewers and attendees can go vote for the sessions that they want to see at ISTE. So they get a little snippet about what that session is going to be about. And it's basically just a vote that runs up until, I don't know, maybe a certain date. It was like a couple months prior to the convention. And we were fortunate enough to be one of the top presentations to get a vote. And we got to present as well.
That's awesome. I really like how ISTE gives a second chance. It's almost like second chance learning, but second chance presenting there. So a little bit about Joe and Kara that we got to find out. You guys are obviously qualified for today's episode, which is virtual PD, and we're going to get in that in just a moment.
You can follow GotTechED outside the podcast at gottech.com or on Twitter at WeGotTechED.
All right, so Joe, Kara, Nick and I like to play games. We're very competitive, and I have a feeling because you guys work together that maybe you are competitive. I don't know, but we are. So even if you're not, you're going to play a game right now, and I hope you're okay with it. If not, this could be a terrible segment. We'll see. But what we did is we went out and we found the top 10. So the top 10 characteristics of virtual professional development. I'm not 100% sure if some of our sources specialized on virtual, but it is the top 10 characteristics of professional development, and a lot of times they carry over for virtual. So what we're going to do is we're going to pit you guys against each other. If you want to make it a competition between you two, that's fine. I'm telling you right now, I picked Kara to win. I don't know why. But and Nick obviously went with Joe because we can't pick the same person. I don't want you to think that you were just last pick in gym class there, because
that's all right.
It was my turn to pick first, and she's sitting on the same side of the screen as I am. So, all right. So, Kara, get us started. Give us one characteristic of professional development that you think is most important.
I'd say as a teacher, something that was always important to me was that PD was relevant to my job. I hated sitting in stuff that had nothing to do with anything that I was ever going to need to do. So definitely relevance would be my top guess.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, you hit the number one answer. So if this was a what is that game show? Not The Price
Family
is
Feud.
Right. Thank you, The Family Feud. I haven't had my coffee either. But
one answer.
If it was Family Feud, you would have got the number one answer, and I guarantee you, your family would have. Yeah, you would have played on that one. So
if we had a buzzer, though, I would have been in a lot faster, because that was going to be my first guess.
All right. Joe, I believe you. I don't know why, but I did. So let's just talk about it a little bit. Sure. This is the number one complaint that I hear from teachers when a professional development does not go right, is that it's not relevant to my curriculum, it's not relevant to my content area or my topic. Therefore, they lose interest and they start grading papers in the audience. Yep. Do you guys find the same thing there?
Absolutely. I think one of the things that we try and steer away from the most is coming into a professional development with a group of people that had no choice other than to sit with us. Even if what we're doing could be life altering and change how they perform in the classroom, if they didn't have a say in what they were doing, that can help bring it down the level of the professional development just as much as not being relevant.
I totally agree. I remember doing the professional development on Google Docs the first, I don't know, 2 months that it was out. And everyone was like, no, I use Word. Why fix it? Or why try to change it? It's not broken, that type of thing. And then once I showed them that they could collaborate, they were interested. So one of the biggest things as a tech coach is that we need to nail at the beginning of the professional development is to show teachers how it is relevant to all content areas. And if you could do that, I think you're pretty golden. All right, so let's go over to you, Mr. Joe.
Sure. I think something that is big in any PD, I would assume virtual as well, is being hands-on or interactive. There needs to be some element of that professional development that gets the teachers involved.
Yeah, that was definitely one of the things that made our list. We called it being active, but within that, of course, being interactive and hands-on. Just in our experience, we've kind of run both types, guys, and definitely the ones where people get up. I mean, as teachers, we know this, right? With our own classrooms, but if teachers are your audience, it's the same thing. It's just more interesting. It's more exciting. And it's I think the learning also happens at a deeper level.
Going with that, let's think about it. Why would we teach differently to our students as tech coaches, our regular teachers, than what we would to our students? A lot of times we get into bad habits and poor practice by, making that lecture type field a professional development. And I think that we really need to, hop in there and kind of practice what we preach a little bit. And I know that we're sometimes guilty of that because of time crunches and things like that. But I know Nick didn't mention this, and I'm pretty sure it's because, he's losing right now in my mind. That was number 3. So I see, Kara and I are up right now. I'm just saying.
Oh, my God. Pressure's on now.
I've got my next one already. I'm just telling you. Probably number 2.
I think Joe's talking right now because he's stalling.
Gotcha.
Yeah, he's pointing. They both made the list, and we made it up higher on the list. If this is Family Feud, we'd be playing right now.
I didn't know there was a ranking. I feel like this game's rigged.
Come on.
Making it up as you go along, Eric.
All right, Kara, number 2. What's your second choice?
Well, I don't know if my second choice made the list, but it's important to me and how I give professional development. But I like to always have some sort of choice. So making sure that teachers' voices are heard in either what they're choosing to attend or what they're choosing to learn at my PD. So being able to give multiple options to make sure that it is relevant. So I guess it all kind of goes together. And Joe even mentioned it earlier in his discussion about including choice. So I'm going to go with choice.
It did make the list. We have very vague categories. They're very broad. It's number 5, and it's under flexibility. All right.
Okay.
We also included asynchronous and synchronous learning types and convenience. So this would be whether or not they're doing part of it at school, then going home and finishing it, or whatever it may be. They're doing it on their own time. So I know on Sunday mornings, I like to wake up, drink a cup of coffee, and then try to do some type of PD as long as my 3 kids aren't climbing all over me, but they usually get their Sunday morning cartoons in. And I'm good for at least a half an hour. So that would be a time which I would use it.
So it's 2 for Kara. Let's switch back over to Joe, see if we can keep it a tie game. Do you have another one in mind, sir?
I do, and I'm surprised she didn't go with this because she's always bringing it up as well. I think with any professional development, and it kind of goes with being relevant, but it needs to be goal-driven. There needs to be something set and established that is going to come out of it, why the teachers want to do it. Whether it be they're going to create something to bring back into the classroom, a lesson, an activity, there has to be an end goal, a reason why they're there.
Yeah, that's a good one, and I think that one made the list too. We kind of called this, in doing our own research, connected to initiatives or connected to school initiatives, but I think we're kind of saying the same thing different ways. There has to be a goal, and if the goal that's in mind there, I'm sure if it's an experience that you're doing through your school, or if it's just something you're pursuing, then that goal would be connected to those initiatives. It just makes it seem a little bit more important. And obviously, if you don't feel like you're going to have some kind of end product that's going to be helpful to you or your district or your classroom, it doesn't hold a lot of value. So that's maybe the most important one out of this whole list.
Another way that I like to look at this is goals are something that you accomplish over time. And PD should be over time. It's if it becomes something that you can just check off right away, it's nothing more than a checklist, and usually it doesn't it doesn't last for a long time. It just kind of comes and goes. I just want to make the point that Nick said that that's one of the most important ones, and it should be up there. He didn't tell you it was number 6. So Kara did kind of beat you by 1 again. I'm just stating the truth. That's fact.
I don't know. Number 6 was a mistake. That should have been at the top, but whatever.
All right, let's keep this ball rolling. Kara, hit us with the number 2 or the number 4.
Oh man, this is tough. I'm thinking collaboration might be on your list. I think it's really important that teachers are working together through professional development and, not just working alone. More brains are better than one. Yep. So we should be working together and building on important lessons and creating new things as a team and not trying to take on everything by ourselves. So I'm going to go with collaboration.
Yep, that was also on the list. Number 7, though. Just a little point for me there, now that we're ranking these things. But that's, obviously, I like how you kind of hit on, too. Could be collaboration in the moment while you're there, getting to talk to other people. A lot of the times, I'm sure you guys feel the same way. That's where you get the most from a PD experience. It's just sitting and talking to other teachers and finding out what they're doing. Another part of that, especially with virtual PD, is the sort of the ongoing collaboration experience where you make contacts and you get to speak with these people and work with these other professionals over time and kind of grow those relationships and build your learning in that way. So collaboration, definitely really important.
So I will throw this out there. If you get the number 2 answer, you'll win, Joe.
Come on.
If you get the number 4, you'll tie. Okay. And if you get any of the other ones, we're taking the trophy today.
All right.
Uh-oh.
You're probably going to take the trophy on this one, Karen. But it goes along with a little bit what you touched on earlier is that I think professional development needs to build on itself. There needs to be a progression within it. The one-offs, you leave, and what do you do with it? You're not coming back. You're not building upon it. So I think building over time with professional development is crucial to making it meaningful.
Yeah, I'm going to just throw this out there because you both had a smirk at the same time. Before you answered, I think there's some texting going on or something.
Oh, no.
I'm telling you what, that's suspect at best. But I think Joe and Nick are texting on the side. I'm just going to throw it out there. But that was our number 4 answer, so you guys actually tied. We called We actually called it sustained overtime, so that is the number 4. So real quick, let's go over the 4 that weren't selected that made the top 10. And number 2 was relevant to skill level, which that's a big one. It is a big one. It deserves to be the number 2 spot. And so if you make something too easy, you're going to bore the people that are advanced. If you make things too hard, you're going to really have the beginners, people that aren't as comfortable with technology, kind of grade papers. I know that's my go-to, but when you go to a PD, how many times do you see teachers in the back grading papers? All the time. All right, so that was number 2. Number 8 is you need some type of an expert presenter. They need to be respected, or people need to know them for knowing tech. They have to have confidence in them. Number 9 is a sound infrastructure. So if you're trying to do a professional development that requires Wi-Fi and you're struggling in that department, it's probably not great to have that type of PD there. And the last one, you have to teach the way that teachers learn. So teach how you teach adults. And that's another big one. Frustration sets in a lot when you go to teach technology to someone that's not what I call tech comfortable. I have it tech comfortable, tech uncomfortable. So
all right, so we've got a tie game between Kara and Joe. I'm disappointed because I always like to beat Geist, but I suppose in the spirit of the day, that's actually pretty nice.
Let me just toss it in there that Kara did get the number 1 answer, so that was the tiebreaker. We won.
Unbelievable. He's just making up these rules as we go along. However, we have seen some really cool stuff so far. bunch of really great things to reference for your next PD that you're planning or attending, some stuff to look for. We've already learned about the Google Innovator Program and the People's Choice option for your next application to the ISTE presentation. We've got one more segment with Kara and Joe where we can actually hear about some specific virtual PD experiences that maybe you can learn from as well, so stay tuned. All right, so we're here for our final segment with Kara and Joe. Usually our last segment is my favorite one because it's where we get into the specifics, the actual things that people can kind of reference after the show and look up and find more information about. And this episode will be no exception. We're going to take a look at some examples of virtual PD projects. And I know Kara and Joe have a lot to talk about here. That's pretty much why we had them on this particular episode. So whichever one of you wants to start off first, just any kind of virtual PD that you guys have been a part of that you want to talk about, or that you're planning on putting together yourselves, to give people some good examples here today.
So one of the things that I had mentioned earlier with our ISTE presentation was our virtual PD, going virtual. And one of the things that we did in our district that got us to present at ISTE was taking a lot of the Google application professional developments that we were doing in person and taking them virtual, going online with them and giving teachers an option and a choice of when they wanted to do it and how they wanted to take our professional development. It was something that came up actually because of Kara. Kara was at the time taking courses online to complete her master's in instructional technology. And that's kind of what got the ball rolling.
Yeah, so I was doing my master's fully online at New York Institute of Technology. And I figured we could do this. And I thought it was a good way to provide a lot of those things that we talked about in good professional development. It gives teachers choice. It gives them relevance. It gives them an opportunity to collaborate, gives them, the time to do it on their own. We used all Google applications to sort of not only create our PD, but also model how teachers could use the same things in their classroom. And our biggest concern to make it relevant for teachers was, how can we have the teachers create something within our course that they can take into their classroom in the upcoming school year and use it immediately. So we didn't want them to create things that they were never going to use. We wanted them to create a Google Doc or a Google form or a Google site that they could take into the classroom and use immediately. And, like I said, everything was done through Google Classroom. We used HyperDocs. Joe and I and our other facilitator, Chris, we commented, we gave feedback, we tried to start discussions. It was a long planning stage, but I think what we got from it and what we were able to provide the teachers that were really interested in it was awesome. And we got a lot of amazing feedback. I think what really made me excited was when a teacher tweeted a picture of her on vacation, sitting outside her hotel room with her laptop, doing our course.
That's cool. That's definitely cool.
Really, that was my dream. That's what I wanted to see. I wanted people to feel like, hey, I have, a free hour. My kids are out playing. I just want to sit here and I'm going to learn something new for an hour. And here we go. And it was the perfect example of exactly what we were shooting for.
So we did something similar. We made it a badge system over here where we picked a whole bunch of different tech tools, including G Suite, but then we went out to Flipgrid and Edpuzzle and Classroom Q and Edgy Notes and things like that. And we made badges showing them. Usually it started with an intro video of the piece of technology, and then it went into some ways that you can use it. And then it asked them to reflect on ways that they could use that tech tool, and then included in their lesson plan as a piece of evidence. And then they could either invite a tech coach out, a supervisor, or a peer to watch them implement it, and then they would earn a badge. So something very similar. We wanted to make it so, through and through, it would probably take somewhere between an hour and two for the whole process to happen. So, and we got a very good response last year with it. So we decided to expand on our badges this year, which was pretty cool. But there are a lot of teachers that really like it. There's always that 10%, 5% that anything technology comes up, they're going to throw up the white flag and surrender right away. But even some of those teachers are learning to, go through some of these badges and develop their tech skills. And I see them using it in their classroom. And that, to me, is my takeaway moment.
I think it gets at one of the things we talked about in segment 2, which is qualities of good PD. And really, with an online program like this that you guys described, it's the ultimate in flexibility. And I think while people initially sometimes have a bad reaction, like, now I got to sit on my free time and watch this video, I think once they try and realize that it's there to help you, it's there to fit in with your schedule, and there may be built-in time during your workday even where you can do some of these things if you're really concerned about finding the time for it. I think almost everybody will find that it's way more beneficial. So I'm kind of glad that you pointed that out. One of the other things that was really, I thought was such a great idea, we were just talking a little bit before the show, was the I think you called it a meet and eat program. Could you guys walk us through that? I just think this is like a no-brainer for any tech coach or school district out there.
Sure. So Kara and myself, one of the ways we met Eric was from a group that we belong to called NJETC, New Jersey Ed Tech Coaches. And one of the things that everybody's talking about all the time is this idea of a lunch and learn, and going into faculty lounge or meeting with teachers on their lunch periods and kind of just talking with them, going over a few things while they eat lunch, sharing some ideas. Nothing very formal, just a way to kind of, hey, we have some shared time. You want to learn something new? And Kara and I, we love this idea. But for us, there's only 3 of us that support 24 buildings. And to try and get around, we were having a lot of issues finding time to hit all these schools, to be around enough. So we came up with this idea called Meet and Eat, and it's a play on words. We use Google Meet to host little 10, 15-minute segments throughout the lunch periods on a given day each week that cover a certain topic. For instance, one topic was just the simple command of Shift-Z for helping teachers organize or submit lesson plans through Google Drive. And we would just redo this session throughout all the lunch periods, and teachers could join on Google Meet, whether it was their cell phone, their laptop, a computer in the faculty lounge. It didn't matter what device they were on or what location they were in. As long as they had access to the app and an internet connection, they could sit in and participate in this little interactive how-to, or sometimes they were tips. And it gave us the capability, because of an internet connection and an application, the ability to reach a lot more people.
So, I mean, this sounds like an amazing idea. When I first saw Meet and Eat on our show notes, I was like, all right, lunch and learn, cool. But you really, took it to a new level with the virtual there. And how is your response to these Meet and Eats?
Sure. So we started doing it, I would say, the last month or 2 of the school year last year. So it took a little kind of time for people to get aware of, hey, this is something that's happening. But I think word of mouth, and the more people found out, especially administrators, now that they're realizing, oh, wow, these tips are really useful and beneficial, they're reminding their staff. And I think once you get administration buying into, hey, this is something that is going to help not only you guys, but it's helping me, you should check it out, it's only going to grow from there. So we're actually planning to start in October. But typically, we cut back on our sessions. We were running them throughout we did about 10 sessions throughout all the lunch periods. We cut it back after the first month to, I think, 4. And we would get usually between 5 to 10 people each session. And we're hoping to grow from there.
For a start, that's pretty good. I mean, sometimes it takes a long time to set a tech trend within your school. So that's awesome. So you guys also listed that you like to create PD playlists. Is that part of the Meet and Eat process, or is this something else that you guys are coming up with?
So our online course is actually pretty, what's the word I'm looking for? It's pretty involved. It's a 4-week course. We have 3 different courses that we call A, B, and C. And they're about all 12, major Google applications. So when you sign up, it's a pretty committed undertaking to go 4 weeks on a course. So it's a real online class. The idea behind the playlist was to cut back on some of that commitment and time and make more of like a choice board / menu of options that teachers could try to accomplish. So it's just like a smaller version of, like the online course that would still be virtual, would still be asynchronous, would still include choice, would still be relevant based on what the teachers are choosing. But it probably would only take maybe like an hour, similar to like your badging system, just like a smaller portion of time for a teacher to investigate a new application or use in their classroom instead of the full 4-week commitment. I'm hoping that teachers don't like it better than my online course, but.
So this would be almost like maybe just like a Google Doc with a series of links they could click through to quickly learn about something rather than, like you said, take your whole online course. Is that kind of the format?
Right. Yeah, more of like each bullet would be like an activity based on an app, and then they would submit something, to prove that they did whatever. Still in the planning stages. Yeah. So we haven't really gotten it out there, but, just thinking of ways to kind of meet people where they are and scale back if they're too nervous, like we talked about in characteristics of virtual PD, if they're too nervous about skills of, technology on their own or content or whatever it is that's holding them back, just scaffold it down a little bit and make it more relevant for them.
And it is something that happened. And that's kind of one of the reasons why we've come up with this idea of the playlist, is because we've had teachers in the instance enroll in the course. And at the first week when the syllabus is posted, they get overwhelmed by it and go, oh my goodness, even though they can do it all at their own leisure and they have an entire month to get it done, whatever time period they want, it's still a little overwhelming for some of those teachers that are a little tech phobic or new to technology. So this is that perfect little dip your toe in the water, as our coworker Chris always says.
So this kind of falls into the category of something that I saw in one of my side Voxer groups that I'm in for tech coaches. And one tech coach, and I don't remember who it was, they posted a resource that they use, and it looked like a menu that you would see at a restaurant. And they had the appetizers, so that was tasks that took like 15 minutes to run through. It's like introducing them to a tech tool or something like that. And then their main course would be something that lasted for 45 minutes to an hour. And then their drinks are fun little tools that they can kind of implement into their classroom if they're just looking for something to make a boring topic more fun. But I thought the way that she did that, it was very professional looking. Yeah. It looks like you could print it out and set it on a dinner table and confuse people.
Well, the whole thing almost kind of makes me think of, Geis and I were recently talking about choice boards for students, especially digital choice boards. It kind of sounds like you could flip that whole thing and use that as teacher PD as well. The same idea as a playlist or, like you said, a learning menu. Go to the full end of the spectrum and do that. Yeah, like a teacher PD choice board might be really cool.
So there were a couple other things that I listed under virtual PD, and we've talked about some of these before, but I think it's worth mentioning here. And a lot of times throughout the year, there are groups like the EdTech team or the Hive Summit people or the Q group or the Strobel Summit. The three that I just mentioned, the Hive, the Q, and the Strobel, they'll all be in the show notes, but they're usually during the summertime. But there are some virtual summits and virtual PD opportunities that happen on weekends that allow you to be in your pajamas and just learning from people in short bursts. It's almost like an ed camp format, but online and virtual. I think there's some merit there. That's where I learned how to do, Google Drawings. I learned how to, what tools were really available through Google Drawings. So I think that's a fantastic learning experience as well.
Some of the other stuff I think we have to mention here in this kind of virtual PD realm. The obvious one, of course, is podcasts. If you're listening right now, it means you already know that because there's so many EdTech podcasts or just teaching podcasts in general. But there's just so much out there, and it really hits that flexibility super hard. And in terms of, Joe, I like earlier you mentioned that sometimes an online course can be a little bit stressful. Teachers feel like they have a lot going on, and they usually do. So something like that can seem overwhelming, but the extreme other version of that with a podcast is there's no pressure whatsoever. You literally click it on, listen to it on your way home. So that's just maybe the most casual option if any teachers do feel like they don't have any time. It just can be as simple as in your car ride home.
Also, social media. More and more teachers are getting involved with social media. Like, I know that both Joe, Kara, and I have been in the same Twitter chats before.
Yep.
I definitely know that. What are some of the Twitter chats that you guys participate in?
Sure. Kara does this a lot more than I do, so I'm going to get my two in first. One is Sat Chats. That's actually hosted by a group, Evolving Educators. It's our actually superintendent, Dr. Rocco, Brad Curry, and
Mike
Krakauer.
Billy Krakauer.
Okay.
The three of them hosted every
Poor
Saturday.
Billy, we forgot about him. Sorry.
The three of them hosted every Saturday morning. And it's just a few questions, I think 3 questions each morning. And you get people from all over the country answering these questions, offering insight that you might not have thought of. So it's a great way to connect. And then the other one that I participate in every once in a while is OK to Ask. So if you check out my Twitter handle at some point in time, you'll probably see some of those and you can find those hashtags and when they happen.
Yeah, I don't really have any that I am tied to. I kind of just jump around. If I see a hashtag that's trending, I might just jump in and see what they're talking about. Our district hosts its own Twitter chat. It's hashtag HTSDPD. So each month they host one for our district. That's really exciting. We kind of try to get people from all over to jump in, and our supervisor of elementary ELA and library media specialist runs that. So she's going to have some guest moderators this year. So that'll be really fun. I think last night I jumped in on Go Formative. I had met the woman who runs that at ISTE over the summer. So that was kind of fun to jump in on. I always liked social studies chat, SS chat, hashtag SS chat, because I was a former social studies teacher. I always feel like I can always get my 2 cents in there somewhere. There's a PD one run by a guy who wrote, now I'm like totally blanking. He wrote the Professionally Driven book, which kind of has a lot to do with my philosophy on professional development. So I think he does hashtag pro driven or something like that. It's a good one. Yeah, I'm kind of all over the map.
Yeah, I'm with you. I often check into many, but there's only a couple that I'm a frequent flyer in. One of them is Mastery Chat. That's by the Teach Better team. I think they're from the Middle States. They're phenomenal. I love their chats. They start with a Facebook Live like introduction, and then they do the chat, and then they do a Facebook like wrap up with whoever's the guest moderator. Every once in a while, I get into Matt Miller's Ditch Book, and also Jake Miller started one with his Edu Duct Tape hashtag, and that one is pretty good as well. Another thing that I'm really starting to get into is Voxer, and it allows a new like perspective to the online chat, and that's voice. I imagine some point in time they're going to get video in there too, but we use Voxer to set up these sub-interest groups within our large tech coach group. And if you have someone that says, hey, I just want to host a Zoom meeting on this topic, podcasting or choice boards or something like that, everyone would join to that Zoom meeting, and it would last for 30 minutes, and people would take turns sharing, and it's just like a revolution to the Twitter chat, in my opinion. But it's turning out to be pretty awesome there.
Yeah, we have a principal in our district who's really into Voxer. He runs the 4:00 faculty Voxer group and says there is literally thousands of messages that group has really, really exploded. We have one for my coaching group through Google Innovator. I am a noob with Voxer. I'm just getting used to it. Like hearing my voice over and over again is a little creepy to me. And part of it feels like I'm just listening to voicemails over and over again. Want to answer my phone anyway, so I don't want to listen to voicemails either. But last night I kind of we had a pretty decent conversation between 4 of us on Voxer about, what we were packing to bring to the academy, which really isn't that exciting, but I was just kind of using it to get used to what it feels like to participate in a Voxer chat. And I was a little I didn't mind it. I didn't hate it, but I still prefer Twitter, over everything else. But it's a good option. And I like that it's just, meeting people where they are and giving them another option.
And just as a side note, that Voxer chat that she was talking about for 4 o'clock faculty, that's Rich Chiz. It's a really great book that has a lot to do with like characteristics of successful professional development, what teachers want. So definitely check that out. If a lot of the things we're talking about today sound good to you and you want a good book to check out, that's an awesome one to look into.
And he just came out with he's coming out with another book too.
It came out, The Secret Sauce.
Secret Sauce.
Oh, I like that title.
Yeah.
Shameless plug.
Shameless plug. For
No, that's awesome. One thing I want to point out about Voxer is once you start to get to know the people in your group,
yes,
like the way that we know NJETC,
yeah.
I think you'll be more comfortable with the voice aspect because you want to hear your friends talk. It's a lot. I think it's a lot more personal than just reading a text over it. But that brings us to the end of our show. I want to thank both of you for being on it. I think this was an awesome podcast. So thank you very much.
Thank you. You popped our podcast cherries.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Thanks for listening to Got Tech, the podcast. Remember to subscribe to our show and follow us at We Got Tech on Twitter so you can stay up to date with the latest episode releases, blog posts, product reviews, and PD announcements. You can also follow Geis and I individually at Geis Got Tech and at Nick Got Tech on Twitter or on Instagram at Nick Got Tech. Finally, remember to check out our website, GotTech.com, where we post all our episodes, articles, and resources available to you for free. Until next time.